I'm trying to read some of these texts that are coming in from the pro-marijuana crowd, but seriously, I can't understand him. Here, 617, Howie, I think you watched the Devil's Weed movies and all the propaganda movies in the 60s, 70s. If you have never smoked, you don't know. Ask Bill. He inhaled, and I am sure you have got behind your CSDI after a few Scots. I think he means scotches. Hypocritically, HIPACRITACALA behaved. Okay. Is that from Gary Johnson? Somebody else says 2 words for why we should never legalize pot. Gary Johnson.
And what is Aleppo?
There it is. That's it. 781. Do we really want to increase the number of Bernie voters? I hate to sound like I'm into eugenics or something like that, like I'm Margaret Sanger with pot. But I mean, that's what you're going to get. You're going to get Bernie voters living in the basement, and they got a big bong, and they got their video games, and they got their 3XL number 12 Brady sweatshirts, and that's it.
But I mean, don't they already have that?
Yeah, but I'm saying, do you want to encourage more of it? Again, if you're legalizing it, or even further, it's decriminalized now, basically. That 89-year-old grandmother, notwithstanding, if you legalize it, you are in effect subsidizing it. So whatever you subsidize, whatever you legalize, you get more of.
I think you'll get more people experimenting with it for the first time, or more people just trying to dabble in it. But I think that the people who you're worried about, the problem that would become problematic, they're already doing it.
Yeah, I know, but I don't want to make it any easier for them to get this stuff. Let's see, Howie. I'm glad I'm a retired teacher. I can't imagine trying to teach any more mushy-brained high schoolers. And then here's one, 207, no on pot, but you plug a liquor store. Wow. At least I admitted it. All right. At 617, Aleppo is a wicked pisses strain of weed grown in Maine, man. 1, a dumbed-down society is a controllable society. That's a good point, too, from 717. Let's take some calls on this. Alan, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Alan.
Hi, Howie. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I'd just like to say a couple things real quick. I mean, you're talking about this. You had Bruce on. I'm so proud of Bruce. I mean, we could have had much worse. I mean,
Bruce Poliquin.
The way they're slandering him. Yeah, absolutely. Bruce Poliquin. He's the man. He's a hard-working individual. I tell you what. Compared to Emily Kane, I mean, they're up here trying to smear him and turn him into something that he's not. I'm telling you right now. I mean, just like the topic you're talking about right now. Question 1, up here in Maine. I mean, it gets down to this. What one generation tolerates, the next generation embraces. And what I mean by that is all the Bernie voters, all the millennials, this is a big question to them. I mean, to you, Howie, it might not be. But to them, they think of this as the world. I mean, most people know that it's not. I mean, we've been attacking the war on drugs for quite a while. We've dumped a lot of money into it, and it seems to be going nowhere. But, I mean, I don't want the Republican Party to be considered a dinosaur because they won't get behind legalizing a drug. I mean, if you want to enforce some laws, we got some illegal immigrants we could throw back, and maybe we could weaken up on the laws on the marijuana.
Alan, I'm not saying, Alan, I don't think there's anybody out there. I haven't talked to anybody in 20, 30 years who wants to throw marijuana smokers in jail. I'm just saying, if you legalize it, you're gonna have more people smoking pot, and it's gonna be more of a problem. I mean, when you had gambling basically illegal, and you could still gamble if you want to get an Irish sweepstakes tickets way back when, you could find somebody to sell them to you. If you wanted to bet on a football game, you go down to the local bar, the local veterans club, and you'd find some bookie. Now, though, you have scratch tickets, you have Keno, you have Powerball, you have Mega Millions, et cetera, the daily number. There's a lot more people with gambling problems now because gambling's available. You're going to have the same thing with marijuana. I don't care what anybody says. It is a gateway drug. That's the reality of it. And anybody who knows anything about marijuana knows it's a gateway drug. I mean, you can argue, these technical definitions of what's a great gateway drug and what isn't. But the fact is that most people who get into trouble start out on marijuana. And I know that, yes, they start out on booze too. But again, I mean, booze is okay, and most people can handle it, but there's a percentage of people who can't, and it leads to a lot of problems for society. And do you want to put another drug like alcohol into the mix? I don't think you do. I don't think it's a wise thing for society to do. Thanks for the call, Alan. Debbie, you're next with Howie Carr. We're talking about the legalization of marijuana, which is on the ballot in several states this fall. Go ahead, Debbie.
Hi, Howie. I want you to run for president of the United States. Will you do it the next time around?
No.
Ha, 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 ha.
Oh, come on, sweetheart.
No.
Listen, you really got me thinking. I'm the one that got that. We were just talking about the cannabis,
Yeah.
And I was kind of going to vote yes, but you know what? You've changed me. You have changed my opinion. Because I come from the 70s, okay, and the 60s, and when cannabis was, not smoked a lot, but
Yeah.
the 70s were all hippies. And you know what? I believe in the oil for healing, but the smoking, you're 100% right, and I'm glad that you got that out on the air today, and I'm glad to hear the comments. You are a godsend to our world, and you're very blessed.
Thank you, Debbie. I appreciate that. And if nominated, I will not run. If elected, I will not serve. Not that I'm going to get elected or nominated, but thank you thanks for asking. 1-844-500-4242. She said she was from the 70s or the 60s. There's another difference between now and the 70s and the 60s. I don't think the stuff in the 70s and the 60s was as powerful as it is now. I mean, it's just they grow hydroponics. It's imported. It's not grown, and it's not a bunch of hippies growing it out on some riverbank. It's got a lot more THC, which is the active ingredient in pot, and it's just that's why you have guys veering off the highway when they when they get their quote unquote prescription. And somebody texted in and said that that incident that I mentioned where the state trooper was killed by the guy, the African immigrant leaving the dispensary, so-called, in Brookline Village. That's the first recorded case in Massachusetts. Well, that may be it's the first recorded case, but I don't think it's the reason it's the first recorded case is he had the prescription on the front seat, and there was a detail cop who saw him leave, and they had cameras up. But I guarantee you that was not the first fatality that was caused by a marijuana smoker on the highways in Massachusetts or anywhere else. I mean, I am positive, 100% positive, that a lot of people have been killed on the highways. People drive up and down the wrong side of interstate highways. It's not just booze. Maybe it's mostly booze, and it's not just prescription drugs either. There's the element of pot. You can abuse anything, and there's so much marijuana out there, and all of its derivatives like hashish, for instance. There are a lot of people driving stoned, and they're driving off the highways, and they're killing people maybe not every day, but every couple of days anyway. Lou, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Lou.
How's it going, Howie? Thank you for taking my call.
Good. Yep.
All right. I just got an issue. A couple callers ago, the older gentleman.
Yeah.
Who he made that completely false statement about how cigarettes are less cancer, or how marijuana is way more cancer causing than cigarettes are.
Yes.
That's complete bogus. That's complete bogus. There's over 8,000 chemicals in each cigarette that we smoke today, not including the menthols that contain fiberglass. Now, marijuana, is a word that they made up to demonize it. And, I call it cannabis for what it is. Did you ever hear about that child who had that condition? And his state the state where he lived in didn't allow him to consume the oil because, he was young. He was 11, so he can't smoke. Then he moved to California. They started him on the hemp oil treatment, and he completely cleared up. There is, look at.
Can somebody shout amen? Put your hand on the radio. There's been a miracle here.
Okay, okay. Listen, though. I'm sorry, but listen. Our forefathers.
I know.
George
The
Washington.
Continental Army, George Washington. How many times have I heard this, Lou? Lou, have you imbibed today with some cannabis sativa?
No. I just got out of work. I do smoke. I don't smoke at work. But let me tell you something. To compare cannabis to alcohol is ridiculous. Alcohol.
But Lou,
no one's.
Lou, you obviously have no problem getting all the cannabis you need. Why do you want to make it? Why do you want to make it legal? So I mean, do you understand people can?
I have a prescription, Howie.
What's your malady?
I believe.
What illness is the pot treating?
Oh, I'm 29 and I have pain. I have spinal stenosis. At the age of 17, I'm just telling you a quick story. At the age of 17, I broke my arm.
If you're alive, you have pain. Okay, go ahead.
Understand, Howie. Understand. At the age of 17, or the age of 16, I broke my arm, and they misdiagnosed it, so I had to have surgery. So by the time a couple months after my 17th birthday, they gave me 300 Percocets. 300 Percocets with refills. Mm-hmm. Now that screwed my life up for the next couple of years because I got addicted to those things.
That's what I'm saying. Why do you want to have another drug in the mix? I mean, Percocets, Vicodin, Oxys, those are dangerous drugs.
Because it's not the same, Howie. I have personal experience, Howie.
It's a drug.
It's not the same.
I know it's not the same, but that doesn't. But it's like saying, well, is it better to drink 200 proof fire water from a still or a beer? I mean, obviously it's better to drink a beer, but each drug eventually gets you to the same place, don't they? I mean, don't you want to get away from drugs?
Not really,
period.
Howie.
Period.
Let me give you an example, Howie. Let me give you an example. Say we go out and we start the night out with a couple drinks, right? That leads to other drugs. Alcohol is the real gateway drug. When you're at the bar and you're having a couple of drinks, somebody breaks out some crack cocaine, some cocaine. They go in the bathroom, they take a couple of bumps, come out.
I've been at bars where they broke out marijuana. I've never been at a bar where they broke out the crack cocaine. Lou.
I've never been at a bar where they just break out a crack pipe.
Yeah, come on, Lou. Come on, Lou. You were doing well until you got into the crack cocaine coming out.
That was his Gary Johnson moment.
Thanks for the call, Lou. I appreciate it.
It's like, you're at the wine bar, you're tasting a Merlot, and then all of a sudden somebody whips out the heroin, and you're like, well, I guess,
I did go into a bar one night in East Cambridge back in the 70s, and I just walked into the bar. I'd never been in that bar before. It just had a cool sign out front, so I decided to walk in. The guy went, "Hey, come over here." Yeah, he's like, I go about 300 pounds. He's sitting at the bar by, "I'm too stoned. I need somebody to tell me how good this crap is." And he rolls a joint right on the bar. But that's the only time that ever happened anyway, Lou, by the way. Forget crack cocaine totally. 1-844-500-4242. I'm Howie Carr.
There's only one Howie Carr.